Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope your week has gone well. It sure has been beautiful outside with the sun anyway. A nice warm day today as I do this Devo. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to keep talking about what we talked about on Sunday as we heard from John the Baptist and his main message of repentance. But we're going to talk kind of an overall thing of forgiveness. If you'll remember from our time together Sunday, or if you watched online, we talked about repentance being more than just simply saying, I'm sorry, though sorrow was part of it. We heard a definition that Wayne Grudem used in his book, Bible Doctrine, that gives us basically 4 parts to the process of repentance. And that is, first, a heartfelt sorrow for sin. That it's not just, again, I'm sorry because I'm afraid of the ramifications of what I did. A kid that gets caught with their hand inside the cookie jar just doesn't want to get punished by mom or dad. That's not what repentance is about. Repentance is not about just so I don't get in trouble with a friend or your spouse or a child or a parent or anybody, but it's I am so sorry that I did that to hurt you. It's a heartfelt sorrow. Secondly, it's a renouncing of it. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to be that person anymore. And along those lines, it's a sincere commitment to forsake it, to stop doing it. Like, no, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I'm not going to that place. I'm not going to say those words. I'm not going to do that act anymore. I'm going to change some things about my life, etc. And then finally, the fourth component is it's a commitment to walk in obedience to Christ. And so it's not just that you messed up and want to fix it, but also moving forward, it's a commitment to following Christ, to being obedient. That Jesus said himself, if you'll love me, you'll obey my commands. And so it goes to the relationship that we have with Jesus, with God the Father. This idea that we do sin. We acknowledge that we sin. The Spirit convicts us of sin. And what will we do then with that knowledge to change, to let the Spirit continue to work in us and make us sanctified, more and more like Christ? All part of the process then that repentance brings. Fittingly, I want to connect then a little bit about our youth group with Fusion. We've been doing this series called A Walk with the Prophets, and we've just been looking at some of the Old Testament prophets and what we can glean from their ministry. And our first one that we looked at was Jonah. You might know the story of Jonah, but the big picture story of Jonah is this idea of forgiveness, that the Ninevites, God called Jonah to go to prophesy to them, to have them change their ways, and he didn't want to go. He ends up going after being in the belly of the great fish and getting spit up onto the dry land and going to visit Nineveh and sharing the message that God had required of him, and he did, and then God did just what Jonah thought he would do. God forgave the repentant Ninevites, but Jonah didn't like that so much. And so, because they weren't deserving, they were evil, vile people in Jonah's eyes, and they didn't deserve the same mercy and the same grace that he got. And so we talked about repentance through this angle of forgiveness and how we too can be like Jonah, thinking that some people in our life don't deserve God's grace. And so I ask you, as you're listening to this today, is there someone in your life, in your past or in your present, that you just don't think deserves God's forgiveness, God's grace, God's mercy? I want you to think about that for a minute. And I want you to think about your own receipt of God's grace, mercy, and forgiveness. It's kind of an amazing thing to think about, that God would forgive us. And he's called us to forgive others as he has forgiven us. And so today, I continue to encourage you to seek God's repentance, or to seek God's forgiveness through repentance. and also to forgive those who have hurt us, even if you didn't one time think that they were deserving of it. All right. I will see you guys this weekend, if not before. I hope the rest of your week goes great.